Recently, I had the chance to chat with Pablo Giori, who is the co-director for the Experimental Photo Festival in Barcelona. It's taking place at the end of July this year, and it's the 5th year running now for this festival. And it is a variety of different workshops, artist discussions that involve both experimental photo work on the film side and the digital side. They have a ton of stuff that's happening in person if people are able to make it to that festival, but if not, they are also doing a bunch of online programming as well. You can find all the information for the festival down in the description below this video, and check out this discussion that I had with Pablo about the festival itself, but also just a lot of interesting stuff about experimental photo work in general, the combination of film and digital, and especially the importance of community when you're doing any sort of creative work.
Hi, Noah. Nice to see you.
Hi, Pablo. It's nice to see you too.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It is 11 a.m. here for me. What time does that make it there for you? Like 5?
Five,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Yeah.
I'm a little bit tired, but that's normal on Friday.
Yeah.
Probably you are going to have more energy, but that's good. I mean, we can just go on both.
Well, I'm a little bit tired from waking up still, so yeah. Oh, perfect.
Good. Really happy to be here. I have been watching some of your videos,
Oh, yeah.
and they're really good. Congratulations. I mean, there are a lot of interest on these kind of subjects. For sure, you are doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's kind of incredible to kind of, and I'm sure you get this with the festival as well, but just to start to get a sense of the impact and the audience, like globally, like the people that, you don't even like meet in person.
One good thing that we have is that in some point of the year, we meet some of them at the festival.
Yeah.
And that's pretty incredible. But it's crazy. I mean, in the end, we always have the same feeling with Laura when the festival is kind of getting closer. Like now, people start saying, because we have a Telegram chat for everyone, for the artists and also for the participants.
Mm-hmm.
When they say, I have bought my plane ticket, and it's kind of 1,200 euros for coming here, and you say, that's crazy because, I mean, we have 50 artists coming every year. And every year, even if this is the 5th year and we know how does it works kind of in theory, and we have gone through this for several times, it's always the same feeling, it's like you can really see that things are happening. And in the end, that you're responsible of all that. And that's crazy. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Intimidating, but always really exciting, So can you give me a little introduction for yourself and a little bit of kind of your background that has led to the festival?
Sure. I have a PhD in history, technically, on communications and history. I'm originally from Argentina. I have been living in Spain for 15 years. I made part of my PhD in Montreal, close to Toronto.
Yeah.
I went once to Toronto it was on the 1st of July, I think, 1 weekend or so just for visiting. That's all I know about the rest of Canada. But I love a lot Montreal, the feeling, the vibe, the energy, the people. It's really amazing. And I was there, I did this PhD, and then I have a couple of masters. I'm as a photographer, I'm really an amateur, so to say. I mean, I don't have studies on photography, and from my side, I'm not on our school. I'm not the one teaching the techniques. That's why we have artists from all over the world that are specialists. I'm mainly working with the history, the theory, and also the mentorship of our students, and also helping our artists, also helping with the exhibitions, all that. But I come from here. I mean, mainly from history. I'm specialized also in archives, in photography archives. I have been working on the National Archive in Catalonia for 4 years or so. I mean that I come from more the historical part, and then as I'm also a specialist in the avant-garde, Bauhaus, and all that kind of things, I work with the photographer from Spain that he was working with double exposure, photo montage, all that on the 20s and 30s. That's why in some moment I start also myself doing photography for try to understand the day to day, how they work, all these photographers, because it's different from a historical point of view if you just study what they have been doing or their work, but really putting yourself in the flow of being a photographer, trying to try to copy their work and to see how much time you can invest in doing something in their context. That was an amazing idea, and that was the moment when I really start doing photography by myself. And you can see on my personal Instagram account that is Pablo Giori. You can see my work there is mainly double exposure. I have a project that is called Film Swap Worldwide, that I exchange films with people from all over the world, more than 122 photographers. That's mainly what I'm doing. That's my side.
Awesome. So how did the experimental photo festival itself start? Because you guys this year is your fifth year, correct?
Yes. We lose half a year with the pandemics because we did the first one on January 2020. We're always saying that it was the best festival of 2020 because it was the only one. Because it was in January, and then in February and March, everything was closed. Yes, we started last year. We started a year before doing another exhibition here in Barcelona, but it was kind of more local. That was when our association started working together. That means that this is going to be our fifth edition. We are celebrating that. But from our organization, we have been working for 7 years together now, mainly with the same team. That's something that I really like because they know what they have to do. They're pretty professionals. I really like to work with them because after so many years, working together is really nice.
That's amazing to kind of have that event and be able to bring people all together for it. And because it's focused on experimental work and it goes against kind of like traditional, any sort of like the rules of photography or the rules of working with film. How do you think that kind of helps to like create like a really like passionate community around it?
I mean, if analog photographers are really passionate, experimental photographers are even more because they know that they are more niche, that there are not so many people in the world doing these kind of things. I mean, if we go back to the history and also till today, we have 20,000 followers, but the biggest part of them are not really doing experimental photography. That means that there are not so many people now doing this kind of technique, and that really creates a really strong feeling of being part of the community. And also we work with the festival with this idea. We really work horizontally with economical transparency. I mean, all the people can know where the money comes, where the money goes. We have you can see all that information on our webpage. And that makes also the community feels really strong. We have the festival, they know that they can come. We have had more than 1,000 participants on the festival of these 5 years, 160 artists. And also we have the students of the Agora. We have created this School of Experimental Photography in 2022 when we started with the online festival. This is also important because we have the Barcelona Festival that is the face-to-face, but also we have the online festival every year. We have 5 workshops and 16 or 17 conferences. We can talk more about this on detail. But I mean, we are working 24/7 every day of the year with something related with experimental photography. And if you are interested in this world, you can really feel part of this community. We have a Telegram group with more than 200 people, and we are going to put more things in there. I mean, we are creating a new webpage. We are starting in September a new course in Agora. We are going to create a new webpage. And obviously, all these kind of things really generates a lot of interest. We have a diploma. We are going to start doing a diploma on experimental photography. That means that is also something new that no other school in the world has. This a year-long pre-recorded and live sessions studies. And that's great because you can have kind of a master in photography, on experimental photography in a year. You can learn 28 different techniques. You can create your own. You can make a presentation, and then you have kind of a diploma that you know how to do experimental photography. And that I do believe that this creates a lot of this idea of community.
Do you think that, especially kind of like since the first year of doing the festival to now, how have you kind of seen it grown? Because I know that you guys work with, I've seen you mention like Lomography and Polaroid and some like the bigger brands as well. Has it been like a positive experience of reaching out to people to kind of grow the festival?
I mean, regarding growing, I think there are 2 or 3 different aspects. The first aspects that I'm more interested in is the amount of participants, because in the end, this is linked with community, and that's the base of what we are doing. The amount of participants of the festival has more or less always been the same. We are more or less between 200, 250. That means that it's a pretty small festival, even if it's the biggest festival in the world, because we have 60 workshops, and then we have 18 conferences, the portfolio review. I mean, we have more than 100 activities, 21 exhibitions. We have 100 activities. The festival is pretty big in amount of activities, but not in the amount of people coming. And that's amazing, because you can really, in these 5 days, because it's really organized as a summer camp from 9:30 to 11 every night, you really have the time to get in touch directly with the rest of the artists and the rest of the participants. You can really make deep friends in 5 days, and that's why we do this kind of format. That's why we like it so much. And also, we don't like this kind of huge festivals, that you are not able to know anyone, that in the end you're just a number. In our festival, we have different activities for you to be a participant. All of the people coming to the festival, they are doing a workshop at least. That means that they are hands to hand directly with the artist in a small group. And that's a perfect excuse for learning and also sharing with others. If we talk about growing in the sense of participants, the festival has not grown. Obviously, from the economical side, it would be nice to have more people. But from the experience of the participants, I think this idea of growing is perfect. Talking about brands and money, we have contacts with these brands, and we have been working during the pandemics with them, and they were pretty interested. And then, as you might know, these are 2 international brands that they are not really close to these kind of festivals. They are just working with the big ones. And as they are changing people all the time, then you, in some moments, they left, and then you don't have access to their brands anymore. And that means that in some moment for 2023, I think we have 2 more or less interesting contracts with them, and then they stop answering our emails. What I'm asking this is not talking about badly about brands or everything, but just for people to know how these kind of really big brands work. And even if we have them on our webpage, I mean, we have taken all that brands out because they were not really bringing us nothing. I think this big contract, so to say, was 500 euros or so. I mean, nothing that you can say, okay, we can organize a festival with this. It was less than 1% of our budget. But I think in some moment on that year, we decided to take all that kind of companies out, and we decided to work by ourselves, because we are a do-it-yourself community. We have always worked with our participants, and that's the most important. We decided to take everything out. Obviously, what happened over the last year about talking about growing, we took out all that brands, and we start working more with the government of Barcelona and Catalonia and Spain for having more public funding. And we start having last year, for the first time, public funding. That this year is going to be better. But we prefer to work with this public and government and doing free exhibitions for the city. We have 21 exhibitions that can be visited for free for everyone in Barcelona if they are here, or for the people of the city, and they are being paid really with the taxes of the people of the city and from the government. We love much more to grow with them and to give things for free to people in Barcelona than really working with these big companies that in the end you are just a number for them, and then what they are really giving you is not, is, at least from our point of view, is not enough in an economical point of view. And also the treatment is not the one that we like to have, with our partners.
Hmm. Yeah, that especially moving towards more like publicly funded, and it makes it a much better space for like that DIY community, and it's a little more kind of artist motivated as opposed to
Sure.
being tied to a brand. And I think that that's a really important thing.
Yes, and also I think people get confused when you put the Lomography logo or something. They think, oh, yes, they pay you 20,000 euros, and you are going
Yeah,
to change your car because you are working with Lomography,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
not true. And then in the end, you see how these big brands work, who are working
Hmm.
with them, why, the salaries that they are paying, and everything. And you say, okay, but why we are working with these kind of brands? Why we are? It's not that they are supporting us. In
Hmm.
some moment, it's that we are supporting them, and you say, okay, but why we're supporting these kind of brands that we don't like the way that they treat their own workers?
Hmm.
And that was the moment we decided to take out all the companies, and try to work by ourselves, as we have always done, really working with the money of our participants, and now working with some money from public funding, and we do the festival with that, and that's enough.
Yeah, that I love that. I love that because
Yeah.
it is like Polaroid and Kodak and the bigger companies, it's like we love the things that they make and we use them, but it's such a beautiful thing where it's like we take those things and we can use them in ways that, people never would have made them to be used in the way that we use them.
Sure, sure. I mean, we are here in this world just to hack
Yeah,
their
yeah.
systems. Obviously, they might not be happy to collaborate with us because we're all the time trying to hack them, but it's
Uh-huh.
nice. I mean, this is something that I'm always explaining in my classes, because in the end, we live in a world with these big capitalist brands that they are monopoly. I mean, Kodak, Fujifilm is 90% of the analog film sale in the world. And,
Hmm.
and we need to understand, how they work. They have the monopoly of everything. They have just raised the prices of film with different reasons that are real and the other that are just excuses. And they say, okay, now it's going to be $4 or $5 more each. And who can say anything, because there are no ones that can control them. That's why we have kind of a conflict, and that's the way our community is related with these brands. As you said, we love them, we need them, we need their materials, they're amazing, but at the same time, we can be critical with them.
Hmm.
That's not that's not the problem. It's just a reality. This is how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is that weird relationship of it's all a business on that side of things, but our interest in it is so purely creative and experimental, and it's trying to find a relationship between the two.
Sure. That's why I also think that there are small brands trying to do new things, even people that are intervening in their films and they are reselling to you with different interventions, film soups, pre-exposed things, people that are trying new things. Just we need to make a little bit of efforts to
Mhm.
know them. And I always prefer to give them the money for them to keep growing these small companies that just working with the big ones.
So yeah, kind of bringing us back to talking about like experimental work specifically, what draws you to the more experimental side of this world as opposed to kind of like more traditional kind of like stricter by the rules photography and working with these formats?
I mean, personally, I was interested at the beginning on trying to understand historically what this happened, and then I realized that there were not so many things on the history. This concept of experimental photography comes from the 19th century, works a little bit in the 20s and 30s, and then in the 90s something, but not so much. But when we realized what experimental photography was, that we did with two books, I just want to make some recommendations for people. If you
Yes.
want this book, it's really good one, Thames and Hudson Experimental Photography. And this book also, if you can speak French, Marc Lenot, Jouer contre les appareils. Marc is a French, is the only one having a PhD with experimental, is a thesis in La Sorbonne. He's really good. Both of them, the authors, has been working with the festival over these years. This was 2015 and 2017. I mean, something has changed with digital photography on this analog boom and everything, that all these people start working away again with experimental photography. And that was the time that we also started. And what I like about this is two different things. From one side, that you can create your own camera with, I always use this example because this is a camera. Okay, this is a pinhole camera. This specifically is for doing solarography. This was from the celebration of the 20 years of solarography that we did on 2020. This is a beer can. We use them as a camera. And this is what I like. I mean, you can do a camera with whatever you want. You can use this camera that is for kids. Is a printing. Are you going to work? Yes. I mean, you can have a camera, whatever camera you want. We can do a picture. And this is experimental photography. Or even you can use a traditional one. This is a 1957 Ferrania camera from Italy. They just produce black and white film now, but they used to produce also cameras in the 50s and 60s. And that is what I like. I mean, that you can do a camera with whatever you want without spending tons of money, and you can just have fun. You know, you are here, I'm here, and that's my camera. That is what I like from experimental photography, that you don't need tons of money for doing something. That's one side. On the other side is that there is something with chance, you know, with trying, learning, trying, sharing, and chance. You know, things can change, things can be different. When you make a picture with your mobile phone, all the pictures are exactly the same. There is something with making pictures with these kind of cameras, or even this one that is a multiple pinhole from that was used for one of the exhibition last year. You never know what is going to come out of these things, you know? This means that you need to take a lot of time to learn the technique, to really master how to work with this, to use it on the best. And then it has so many expressive possibilities, each of these techniques, because we have in experimental photography more than 144 techniques. And that's amazing. I mean, photography, industrial photography is just one technique. It can be color, black and white, digital, analog, more or less, but everything is the same. You have a viewfinder, and you are going to capture what you can see on the reality, because all the technology is prepared to show you exactly what you are seeing. All these kind of cameras are really hacking that reality, you know, and not knowing what you are going to get is great. I'm always explaining this, the pinhole revolution in the 90s. One of the good things with this is that they don't have a viewfinder. I mean, they say, why do I want to know what I'm capturing? You know, why do I... Viewfinder is a pre-visualization aspect of photography that is crazy. When you realize that you know what you are going to take a picture of, and then you say, with this one, you don't know what you are going to take. At least for me, it's great. It's amazing, because that's a creative aspect of experimental photography that you don't know. And maybe it's good, maybe it's not enough good as you want. And then you need to try it again and try it again. And with this camera, you can take pictures for 6 months. And then you need to put this camera 6 months, wait, and see the result. It's not something that you can have now. And that's what I like from experimental photography. From one side, that is kind of handmade. It's something that you can make with your own hands, and that you can put something of your body in it. It's not just something digital or something intellectual. On the other side is that it's something that is infinite. I mean, as a professor, doing mentorship on experimental projects, I have been working over the last 3 years with more than 35 projects. And I have seen on the open calls of the festival tons of projects. None of them are exactly the same. None of them. I mean, each of them is different. And when you see, okay, there are 2,500 projects different on the world happening at the same time, you say it's crazy, you know? That's crazy. Obviously, if you go to, I don't know, a nature photography or a portrait, obviously each of the photographers has a different approach, perspective, a different subject, but all of them are doing portraits with the traditional cameras. You know, all the images are more or less the same from our point of view because they are showing the reality. They know what they are going to capture. Then they can modify into be, read, blah, blah, blah. But when you see a project, a portrait project done with one of these cameras, then this blow your mind, you know, because it's something that you are not going to expect. And that is what I like the most. You know, every day you see new things, you see new projects, you see new ideas.
That's amazing, especially for people discovering film and working with film, and just like the realization that there are infinite possibilities and it goes beyond, kind of like perfect exposure and perfect development and trying to achieve like something like digital, but just like a little bit different. Um, and I mean, one of the biggest kind of debates is always film versus digital and what's better. But I know that the festival, you guys have workshops that kind of incorporate film and digital together. Um, how how do you kind of see them coexisting like that in like the experimental world that kind of goes beyond just like film is a better image or digital is better image?
I think this is kind of a debate of the industries and also from people that they are newcomers and old comers. You know, they were the ones that were here and they in the past in the 80s and 90s and they were trying to defend themselves from this new technology. What
Mm-hmm.
we see in our community normally is people that just mix techniques, you know, without any control. They are just mixing digital and analog without any limits. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. In the 80s, we were just analog. In the 2000s, we were just digital. In 2010, 2020, we are mix of both. Even with Instagram and all these kind of social networks, in the end, we are sharing these images digitally, you know, and we have a visual character created on social networks that we are doing the images that we are seeing on our phones, you know, because even if we want or even if we don't want, this education bring us to create images that are similar to those created in digital. That's why in the end, even if technically you are using an analog process, a lot of the decisions that you are making are based on digital uh, structures and situations that make you. That's why, from our point of view, there are no such a difference between one thing on the other. From a historical point of view, when we talk about experimental digital photography, we don't just talk about the same images that you can take with the digital or with an analog camera. We are talking about these new projects. For example, I'm always putting this example because it's crazy. You can find it. There is a conference I open in our YouTube channel. This guy is called Chirag Jindal. He's an artist from New Zealand. He's amazing. He has a master in photography and he was working with a LiDAR radar. The LiDAR radars, they're kind of radars that you can really kind of GPS the exact position of all the objects. That means that in the end, you can really create a 3D model of images that we are never ever going to be able to see because these images are created by a radar. I mean, if you can show the images to our audience when you can, but if you look for Chirag Jindal LiDAR radar, what you are going to see is kind of a 3D images, but from something that is in the middle of the rocks,
Mm-hmm.
something that we are not able to see. That is the revolution, the last revolution of digital photography, you know, to show us things that we are not able to see with our eyes and that we are not able to see with analog technology. I mean, that's why we normally, in experimental photography, we talk about two different revolutions in digital. The first revolution is obviously doing exactly the same with analog, but with digital. And then there is a new revolution with this kind of radars and all these microscopic images that we are not able to do with obviously analog photography. There are tons of different digital projects that really go beyond our our reality, or the way that we can see reality with our eyes, and that's what really makes digital photography experimental. Obviously, from our side, I mean, I really love analog photography. I love digital photography, but I do think that the future is going to be more linked with all this mix of technique. You know, crazy people that are just saying, okay, but I want this and I want this. How can I see this reality that I'm not able, and just mix techniques in analog or digital or your mobile phone or whatever, and try to capture new things. All these people looking for new realities, that is experimental photography. In some point, we are looking for the future of photography, obviously bringing things from the past, because in the history of photography, we have so many techniques, so many research, so many scientifics doing a lot of things. If we can learn from them, obviously we are going to go faster to the future. It's kind of a fast train to the future, learning something from the past. But this is what we are going to find in the future: more mix of techniques, more new ways of seeing the reality, and that's amazing. I mean, we have a lot to learn from digital photography.
Yeah, that combination of film and digital and new media and like mixed media, uh like people incorporating like VR, virtual reality aspects into their work. It is kind of that beautiful just like combination that is like, it doesn't matter, what is like the technical like better image. It's more about like the experience and the what goes into kind of creating it.
Sure, there is something of experimentation that is linked with experience, and we always love to do this kind of link, because in the end, you need to feel free to love photography. What happens a lot is that in more traditional schools of photography, they teach you on a really strict way. You know, this is a good photography, this is a bad photography, and that makes a lot of people not to feel comfortable with what they are doing. That's why experimental photography is more playful. You can make mistakes. We have chance, and you can try to learn other things from your own mistakes. We always say it's good. You can start with digital. Do how many digital you like. Enjoy them. If in some point you are tired, you want to see something different, let's go with the analog. Do whatever you want with analog. Try to do it everything. I mean, from taking the picture, choosing your camera, choosing the lens, the film, and then developing. There are a lot of ecological developers now in internet. You can find a lot of experimental things, ecological friendly, that are really nice. And then learn how to print them. And when you have learned more or less all the process of analog, if you want to know more, come to experimental photography, because there are so many other things. Because in the end, traditional photography is based on an industrial film that some company has created, but there are so many different photosensitive surfaces that we can use to create photographies. I mean, when you go out from this film to all the photosensitive surfaces that we have in the world, it's crazy. Even your own skin, you know, that is photosensitive, or the plants, or cyanotype. And you can use even cyanotype, that is kind of the easiest technique of all the experimental photography techniques. Even if it's an easy one, you can tone in all of the colors from ecological point of view. From blue, the traditional blue, you can have all the colors. This is a book of Annette Golas. If you're interested, it's an artist from Switzerland. She has an amazing book. And then you can use it as a positive, because traditionally, cyanotype has been used as a printing technique. But you can use also for doing a negative. You can create a pinhole camera and make a negative with cyanotype, and then you can create a direct copy, or even you can create a direct positive from a camera with cyanotype. I mean, even with something so easy, so basics, just a combination of two chemistry, the A and the B, there are so many possibilities, and that's great. I mean, and then you can mix cyanotype with lumen print. You can mix cyanotype with chemigrams. You can mix cyanotype with wet plate collodion. And then all the mix that starts from there has no limits.
That's especially what makes it beautiful, I think, is the just variety of options and raw creativity. And for myself, I besides the YouTube channel, I also do some work at an artist center here in Toronto as well. And we have a dark room. And so we're seeing all the time people doing organic processes, plant-based developers, cathinol, cyanotypes, phytograms, just like such a side of things that I had never really seen or experienced before being around, a community darkroom, a community space where artists are coming in and doing that kind of thing. And so especially festivals and community art spaces, just bringing people together. I really think it helps everybody kind of learn and start to see things just differently in so many ways.
That's the best. I mean, and in the end, at least at the beginning of the technique, if you can start with someone else that can really give you the tips, can make you to start at least with something and see some results and everything, that's great because you get motivated. Then you can learn a lot. On internet, there are tons of things. Obviously, we have the school and everything, but that's great. I mean, that you can start with someone at the festival or in a dark room that you can find or on internet or wherever. That's great because someone is sharing with you something that this person really loves and that this person has been working with for a couple of years or a lot of years. But that's kind of the most important, that someone else is giving you that this is not just information, but that you are having experience with someone else of photography. And that's great. Industrial photography is so lonely. You can these kind of people that they're just walking everywhere and just making pictures and just thinking, kind of the 19th century artists that they are great, they're amazing. We always say that the future of photography is going to be in a community, because in a community is the place where you are going to find other people that are going to teach you. You are going to learn from them. You can teach them also, but you can be motivated by them in a group. That's the best. That's why we always invite everyone to go to find their experimental community locally. We can connect online and internationally because that's great, but it's always good to have someone at least to go once a week to bring together or to learn together or to make pictures with others. All that kind of things are great because our life is pretty hard. And if you have someone else there trying to motivate, is always good. And then in the end, what happens, at least on experimental photography, there are so many information. The techniques are so diverse. It's so hard to know everything nowadays. There's so much information. You don't know anything. Even myself, that I'm kind of in the middle of all the movement, I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking notes every class that I'm having because I'm learning from my students every day. You need to be working with someone else because maybe you have a background on chemistry. And maybe you have a background on film studies, and you can teach each other not just cyanotype or whatever technique there is, 144, but something else, because photography and experimental photography, this is pretty clear, is also mixed with other arts, another science, another information. It's not just photography, but if you can mix with other things from this mix, something new is going to happen. And if you can share it with someone else that has a different background, that is just going to blow your mind because you're going to be creating with someone with a different background, with a new goal, with a new timing, with a new idea, with a new motivation. That's great. I mean, that's why I love experimental photography because it's really inspiring. But our perspective is really a community one. We need to find our community and we need to work with others. If not, it's really hard to get them motivated.
I agree. I agree so much. It is, especially from the perspective of, the last few years of doing the YouTube videos. I'm trying to kind of like spread knowledge and like some of the technical skills, but it really is the important part about it is that community and being able to kind of like I've started to meet people who know the videos, but also kind of like learn from other people and it's amazing. Now, tell us about the festival this year, and kind of like what you're excited for, and what people should be getting excited for about it.
This year we are celebrating our fifth edition, 5 years. That personally is crazy, and that's a lot. It doesn't matter to the participants. I mean, that's something that motivates me, but not them. What they're going to find if they can come to the face-to-face festival in Barcelona, this is July 25, 24. They are going to find the festival that is kind of a summer camp from 9 in the morning till 11. That means that you are not even going to have time to visit Barcelona. Just come a couple of days before or stay a couple of days longer, because we are full 24/7 working with experimental photography. What we have is 21 opening of exhibitions. They are free for everyone if there is someone here. We have the conferences all the time, also from Wednesday to Saturday, with artists from the festival, but also we have some invited internationally. We have Anne there, for example, from the United States. We're going to have Malin Fabri. She is the founder of alternativephotography.com, one of the oldest webpage with resources on alternative photography. She's going to be for the first year with us. We're going to have also a conference about feminist perspectives on photography, how to reinterpret the history of photography from a feminist point of view. We are really onto that kind of subjects. Obviously, also, we're going to have ecology conference also with 3 international artists that they are amazing. They are also doing now a survey on internet. If you want to participate, the survey is on the webpage of alternativephotography.com. Also join there, give your opinion. Also, it will be part of the conference in Barcelona. I mean, we have conference from different subjects from people from all over the world. And that is great because you can also join online if you want, because we have the online festival for just, I don't know exactly, but might be something like 29 euros. You can watch all the conferences live from all over the world, streamed. That's something that we really love. We started this on 2021 with the pandemics, and then we keep doing it every year because it's really important that we can share also with the rest of our community, because in Barcelona, in the end, we are 300 or 400, but we have 40K, and the rest of the world, we also need to be sure to bring them the content. And that's a way that they can come. And also we have 5 online workshops. This year we have one on phytograms. We have interventions, kind of film soups, and also burning of negatives. We have one with fanzines and photo scenes. We have one on light painting. They're happening every day from 6 to 8, 4 to 6 Barcelona time. Every day we have a different workshop that you can also join on the online festival. And then for those who are going to come, you can see the conferences, you can see all the exhibitions, and then the biggest part of the festival, the more interesting part, are the workshops. We have 52 with 50 artists from all over the world. The workshops are really amazing. Some of them are sold out, but the rest of them you can join if you want. All the techniques that you can imagine. We have workshops for 4 hours. We have workshops of 8 hours, and all of them are really great. Then we have 3 portfolio reviews. This is something that I really like to explain because this is nice. We also have an artistic residency at the beginning of the festival. We have 10 artists working 10 days prior of the festival for creating an exhibition and teaching between themselves. But this is not something that people can really participate because we have an open call. If you're interested on our residency, you can send a proposal in the months of November. I think we are going to do this year for the next year. I was explaining the portfolio review. This is something interesting because we have 7 curators from all over the world. They come to Barcelona to choose artists, participants from the festival to bring and to do exhibitions worldwide. last year, because I like to go also to the openings, that's the best part. Uh, Last year, we went from the result of the portfolio review, we went to Oslo Negative, an amazing festival in Oslo with an artist, Lexi from China that lives in Norway. They did an exhibition there. We were last week in Milan, also opening an exhibition of Sendre, also from the portfolio review. Then we're having this Friday, tonight, we are opening an exhibition in Uruguay, in Montevideo. Probably you are not going to arrive if you take a plane now, but we are doing exhibitions worldwide. That is kind of the idea. And also in August, in Philadelphia, in the US, we're having in the Halide project, we're having an exhibition of 3 artists of the festival. And this is going to be the same this year. If you come and you participate on the portfolio review, we're going to have exhibitions in Italy, in Bulgaria, in Romania, in Bristol, in the UK, in the US. We have also a couple of them, and also one here in Barcelona outside of the festival. There are 6, 7 people that are going to have an exhibition worldwide, and that's the best. That's a thing that I really love of the festival, that we have the residency where people come to really learn close to each other, and then we have the portfolio review that allow us to bring experimental photography worldwide. We create opportunities also for artists that normally they don't have the opportunity to show their work internationally, and it's great. That's something new that we started last year. This is the 2nd year, and it's really amazing. To go there to see how the artists are working with the curators locally is an amazing experience.
That is, amazing, especially, and that is, I think, one of the other great parts about like where we are now with a variety of technology is you can do a very community centric festival like that with like 200-300 people, which is a lot of people to think about. But then when you get them all together, it's easy to actually kind of get a sense of everybody. But then also offering the variety of things online as well for people who can't make it there. It creates such a community that doesn't feel like it's like a club, like an exclusive club where it's like I'm not part of it if I can't make it to the actual festival, because of now with online programming and everything. So definitely I'm gonna supply all the information for everybody to check all of that out.
Great.
Yeah.
And also we want everyone to approach. That's, for example, why we have in Agora School of Experimentation. We're starting in September. No rush for you to register now. But we have the introductory class that is just 50 euros, and you have 9 different techniques. That means that just for 50 euros internationally, you can just join the class, join the community, learn 9 techniques. We try to do this as cheaper as possible, also for the participant and the students of the school, because really the goal of our nonprofit association is really spread the word on experimental photography. That's kind of what we are looking for. And that's why obviously we have a bigger prices with amazing artists internationally that they do live workshops. And obviously that is much expensive, but we also have this pretty cheap. We try to move for all the audiences, at least for them to have something. And if not, they can just follow us on Instagram, and every day we are sharing different participants, artists from all over the world, and you can just get inspired. And that's great. At least having this opportunity of having all this amount of artists together is crazy. Last year we make kind of a count of what we have done till that moment, and we have reached 120 artists. This year we are in 170. And you say, okay, but it's crazy, 170 artists working with experimental photography is kind of a mind-blowing thing, because so many techniques, so many interesting stories, so many people to share. And that's great. And also what I like about our community is as we are working on Instagram, you can just send them a message and say, hey, I just saw this image. How do you do this? Because I have tried something, or what's the name of the technique, or the film, or the camera, or camera-less, or when I can find that, whatever, or in the chat that we have of our community or the festival, you can just ask, and someone is going to answer. That was not possible before without having internet. When they started in the 90s with pinhole resources, for example, that was a page for pinhole photographers. In the 90s, you have to send an email or you have to send a letter to Renner in New Mexico, wait 45 days for him to receive it, and then he will answer you. Maybe it takes 5 months for you to receive something, and it's crazy how fast things can be done now. I think that is changing everything, because there are so many communities working with analog, digital, alternative, creative, experimental photography. That's great. I mean, we can just with our mobile phone connect to one of these communities for free. I mean, that's totally new in the history of photography. It's totally new. It's totally crazy. And we do believe this is going to change photography. This is what we are working for, creating this community, because we know that this community together is going to change the future of photography. Obviously, when these basic things change, also what we are able to imagine photographically is also going to change. We're kind of working and waiting to see what these images for the future are.
It's so much to think about, but it's also, I think that is the biggest takeaway from all of this, is that if you are working or have any interest in working with film or digital on any sort of experimental level, then you're not alone doing it. There are festivals like yours, there's online communities, and it is like it makes everything so much more exciting when you're doing it with people and sharing the knowledge and sharing the experiences.
And also having this opportunity of coming to the festival, if you can come, or some of your audience can come. When you have the feeling, me and Laura, she's also a co-director, we always remember that the first year when we did the festival for the first time, someone was just leaving for the airport after the 3 days of that year. And she said, I'm never going to forget when I get to my dark room that I'm not alone anymore. Even just sharing 3 days and seeing, eating together with 120, 200 people that are crazy as you, interested on the same things, even having this experience of being together with other people as you, makes you feel every day that someone, if you have a problem or if you need something, someone is going to help you. And that is great. That is really great, because in the end, we are human beings. We have problems. We need help. We need to share with others. And that's a way that we are going to keep working on photography, because in the problem is that if in some point we get not so much interested, we don't have energy, we have a lot of work, or we have a personal problem, and we are not supported by a community, it's pretty easy to quit. The only way to keep working, having the energy, is working with others and sharing with others. And that is something that we have been working strongly for. And I think that has helped a lot of people not to feel so alone. I am always going to remember this image that she put in my mind, this idea that I'm on my dark room working by myself and I feel alone, But if I have a community in some place kind of to debate with or to share with other crazy people as me, I'm not alone anymore. Even if technically you are alone at your home, you're paying your rent by your own, but conceptually there are other people there for you, and that's great. For at least for me, that's a mind changer.
Well, Pablo, I think that probably about wraps it up. It's been incredible talking to you. And yes, anybody that can possibly make it to the Experimental Photo Festival happening in Barcelona at the end of July. It's the 24th to 28th at the end of July this year.
Yes.
And if not, the Instagram, the social media, all the online programming as well, all of that information will be available in the description of this video, and then on my Instagram as well. I'll share everything around. Yeah.
If someone is not able to come and they want to be part of the online festival, you can also sign up for our newsletter, or even send us a message on Instagram, and we will add you to the newsletter for you to know. In June, at the middle of June, we are going to start spreading the word on the online festival. That's amazing because you can be working, for example, at your home or at your job, and you can be listening to the conferences here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You don't even need to ask for holidays, That's great. Just feel free to join. And then if you want to learn more, in September, we also have the Agora. And that's great. I mean, if you feel like you need something else that you want to learn more, a different approach to photography, feel free to join us.
Well, I probably will not make it there this year, but this has made me really want to. I think next year would be possible, and I would love to come. Yeah.
Great. We can talk about that. That can be a really good.
I would love to. Amazing.
Great.
Anything else before we end things?
Just saying thanks. It was pretty amazing. I mean, I think that we have talked for an hour. I think we can stay here for 2 hours more because I was just having a lot of fun. I mean that people are not going to stand here for 3 hours, but for sure we are going to have the opportunity to talk more in the future with more details and ideas and things. It has been an amazing pleasure for me to be talking with you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. All right.
See you
Bye,
soon.
Pablo.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking this out. You can find all the information down in the description below for the festival this year. There's a combination again of both in-person and online stuff. So even if you are not able to make it to Barcelona, there is still opportunities to be involved and see what's going on there. And of course, thank you to Pablo for chatting and for everybody involved with the festival for putting that on and helping to create a community space like that.